Thanks to Rukmini. ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च. The first of the three verses in the Kathopanishad that deals with the subject matter of Shreyas and Preyas does not mince words about the nature of the choice that confronts us as a humanity and the costs of the wrong choices that are made. Lord Yama, uh, you know, doesn't have any frills, doesn't put any frills on anything, just gives it as it is. Let us listen and understand what he is trying to say. अन्यच्छ्रेयः अन्यदुतैव प्रेयः ते उभे नानार्थे पुरुषगुंसि नीतः तयोः श्रेयः आदधानस्य साधु भवति हीयते अर्थात् य उप्रेयो वृणीते. He makes it very clear that Shreyas and Preyas have nothing at all in common. They cannot be friends or roommates even for a second. Why? Because Preyas is a projection of that limitless reality which is revealed as the truth of the I, the truth of the self. The truth of the I is limitless, whole, free of sorrow, free of despair, despondency, fear, and a whole host of all kinds of things that go under the name of samsara. This I is free of all that. Yet the everyday lived reality does not display that. The experiential reality of the person is very far, appears to be very far away from the truth. Hence the need for the Guru, hence the need for the Upanishad, hence the need for understanding cognitively what is in the way of me repatriating with the truth of myself. Why is the truth of myself some kind of an elusive abstraction, whereas the prayas predominates and pretends to be Shreyas when it is not? So therefore, Shreyas and Preyas are not two things, first of all, even though they appear to be two paths. They are not paths. All that is there is Shreyas. All that is there is this reality, which is also a lived reality. Consider this. It's not that, when one is awake, one is sad all the time, one is worried all the time. 24 hours of the day, one is having the experience of pain and sorrow. If that were the case, nobody would be interested in anything. But that's not true. People keep striving, people do have happiness. Even when desires are not fulfilled, people have moments of happiness. You see a flower in bloom, you smile. You see the antics of a small child, you smile. You can't help yourself but smile. You see a little pet, a dog or a cat, kitten, doing something funny, you smile. So that shows that there is a contradiction. There is a contradiction between what the everyday reality seems to give me in terms of sorrow, fear, etc. Expose me to all these negative things that I don't want to be exposed to. And the same in the same body mind sense complex where the I is living, there itself I experience happiness, I experience contentment, I experience peace, not only in sleep but also in the waking moments. So, which is, will the real self please stand up? Which is real? Is the sad, dejected, bored, routinized, dead end self real? And everybody quickly wants to say, no, 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 that is not real. We don't want that to be real. Or is the self of my dreams that I want to be compassionate, I want to be big, I want to be accommodative, I want to envelop everything, I want to hug everything, I want to be one with everything? Is that self real? We don't need, we don't need a PhD in any subject matter to answer this question. Because we want anybody you ask anywhere in the whole universe, which self do you really want to be real, and everybody will say, I want that self which is complete purna, which is limitless ananda, which is the only thing that there is, which is whole, which is free of seeking something or the other. I want that to be real. Somehow the heart is hardwired for pursuit of Shreyas. Only thing it is unrecognized. That's all. And so, if this is, if it's the question of, the question is not of what to pursue, because it is very, very clear. The question more is how to pursue that which is already a Siddha Vastu. Siddha Vastu means it is already there. How to pursue something that is already accomplished? We don't know how to do that. That's why I said we bring in the hunter gatherer mentality even into the spiritual quest. So one is wanting, one is keeping on wanting something, and one is going with one is going with the desire to have this, to have and hold this. You can't have or hold what you already are, the truth of what you are. And so, the first thing that Lord Yama wants us to understand in the first mantra is that Shreyas and Preyas are like night and day. They cannot coexist the same antahkarana, the same heart, at the same time. Just like light and darkness cannot coexist and be in one place at the same time. As soon as light comes, darkness bids goodbye. It cannot be there. In fact, that light, which is the dispeller of darkness, is the knowledge of oneself as Shreyas. And what is the darkness? The addiction to prayers, the identification with prayers. So, Shreyas and prayers are not on a par. That's why Lord Yama insists on this. Anyat eva shreyah. Anyat utaiva preyah. Anyah means different. Shreyas is different. Preyas is different. Don't think of them on a par. It is not like a buffet. I'll have a little bit of Shreyas and a little bit of prayas on the plate. Not possible. In fact, Shreyas is the whole buffet. Prayers are certain finite ends within this. Most of the time, it is spoiled and it gives indigestion. That is what it is. So, they are not two things that you choose. In fact, all that is there is Shreyas. It's going to be pointed out later. Anyat Shreyah, Anyadutaiva Preyah. And then both of them pull the human beings towards them. They, as it were, bind the jiva, bind the person. Te ubhe, both of them. Nanarthe. Nanarthe means they bring different results, different fruits. Bhinna phalake, nanarthe means different fruits. So, what is the fruit of prayers? More and more sorrow, addiction to sorrow. So one is on one, we can say one, if you choose prayers, you are on the sorry go round of life. You can't call it a merry go round. Nothing merry about it. You are going round and round, all right, and a sorry go round of life. And life after life after life. This is the fruit of prayers. It is not a lasting remedy to sorrow. It is just a putting a band-aid on the Grand Canyon of desires, needs, and various wants, pressures. This is prayers. This is the phala, the fruit of pursuing a life of prayers. And what is the result of Shreyas? The result of Shreyas, of course, is moksha, the truth of oneself as freed of not only the fruits of action but of seeking altogether. Because truth is, I want to be free of being a wanting person, an incomplete person, a person filled with all kinds of nonsensical desires. And the pursuit of prayers leads to results that keeps the seeker intact. Because the results being finite, the seeker cannot resolve. The seeker cannot go to sleep. The seeker is always awake and seeking, looking here, looking there. Where is this? Where is this? Because no matter what you accomplish, the sense of unfulfillment dogs you. That's why you have the question, I have done this, what next? What next? What next? One is keeping on making lists. Before one did it by hand. Now there is, the smartphone, and you can put everything there. And it will even remind you, it will ding ding. Time to pursue some more prayers. It will give a reminder. And one is keeping on making lists because the gamut of things unfulfilled keep on staring at you and exert a pressure, fulfill me. This is the beauty of ragadvesha, beauty within quotes, of course. This is the problem with ragadveshas, is that the strong prejudices and preferences exert a pressure on you to try and fulfill them, to try and to be wedded to them. So the raga and the dvesha are like mafia bosses. They keep track of wherever you are and completely take over your life. Albeit in a very non-obvious way, they take over your life. And so, therefore, one has to, this is the fruit of prayers. The fruit of prayers is constantly seeking because the seeker is not questioned. Seeking is taken to be real. Seeking is normal. Getting disappointed is normalized. Seeking some more is, of course, normal because you look around. And then what happens? You look around and see other people also seeking. And then you say, ha, I'm not the only one in ignorance. I'm not the only one in prayers. And you justify being in prayers by looking at the Joneses and all the other people and saying, look, they are also sinking. What kind of a logic is this? Tell me. If you look around and see other people flailing, sinking and going glub, glub, glub in the ocean of samsara, does that mean that you also have to do that? Does that mean what kind of a logic is this? If other people are sinking in samsara and you know better, but still you're sinking with them in order to keep them company. And otherwise you start thinking, what will they think? Who is this they? This amorphous they? This what will they think often is a maxim that keeps one completely ensconced in mediocrity. Mediocre thinking, mediocre pursuits, mediocre ways of being, because one lacks the courage to be what the Kathopanishad says, dhira. Dhira means a wise person, a daring person is what it takes to see the difference between Shreyas and Preyas and to let go of Preyas and to turn towards Shreyas. And how to do that? That also the Kathopanishad is going to say elsewhere. I'm going to bring in that verse as a flashlight to shine the light upon this mantra. Elsewhere, the Kathopanishad says it is very difficult to recognize the difference between Shreyas and Preyas because one is oriented towards the universe naturally. The eyes are outward facing. The ears are outward facing. Paranchikhani vyatrinat swayambhuhu parak pashyati na cha antaratman. So the eyes are outward facing, the everything is outward facing. So therefore, all the means of knowledge we have at our hands in the form of the sense organs are facing outwards. Is it a mystery then that one is always focused outwards? And then the person is given the injunction, look within. How can I look within when my eyes are facing outwards? The Kathopanishad asks. And Lord Yama, in the middle of his teaching, says, Vyatrinat Swayambhuhu. It's not our fault. It's the fault of Bhagavan. Bhagavan has made it this way that it is very difficult to look within. But we can help ourselves. How can we help ourselves? We can help ourselves by making it, taking the initiative to choose Shreyas. How? Kaschid dhiraha antaratmanam aikshat avritta chakshuhu amritatvam icchan. It takes one person called a dhira, a wise person, a person with viveka, discrimination, to swim against the current, to swim against the stream. It takes one person. One person with discrimination. It doesn't take the whole society. The whole society is not going to come along with you. Stop needing approval from other people pursuing prayers. Stop thinking that they're going to bless your pursuit of Shreyas. No, in fact, they're going to be afraid and hold you to get closer. Because if they cannot swim, they're not going to let you swim. This is what happens. In the tarot cards, there is this thing called tarot cards, and in the first card it says the fool, the first tarot card. And this tarot card has one joker type personality with a stick, and in the back of the stick is all the possessions in a nice bundle carrying that. And there is a kind of a precipice, a wall, which is like a fort wall, that he or she, some kind of an androgynous figure, this fool is in the tarot cards. And then you know he has one foot on the precipice and one foot off that wall dangling. And meanwhile, in the background, there is, smoke coming out of various chimneys, houses are there, people are going about their day, and there are four dogs holding this person back. He has a cape, and then, the dogs are holding the cape with their teeth and holding this person back. In fact, the fool is from the standpoint of the people in this village, from the standpoint of the people in the society. When you start pursuing prayers, they'll say, "What's wrong with you? Why you are starting to go to ashram, and why you are singing Hare Rama, Hare Krishna? What's wrong with you? Why you are singing strange bhajans in a strange language? What has come over you?" And half the time you're standing on the head, and the other half the time you're doing some pranayama and holding the breath, and holding the nose and holding the toes. What are you doing? Other people are not going to say, "Oh, you are such an inspiration." That will come later, sometimes even posthumously. So don't expect that people are just going to, put one mala on you and tilak on you and give you a present for pursuing the present, which is Shreyas. Not going to happen. Therefore, one has to have the wherewithal to be able to not look for approval. Kaschit dhiraha, one person it takes. To be able to eschew the need for the approval and to be able to just calm down the fear of disapproval. And like the fool character in the tarot card, is able to just walk off the precipice of these finite and limiting notions, limiting beliefs, limiting identities, limiting sense of I. And when you walk off that, this leap is a quantum leap, it's a cognitive leap that leads you to the understanding that you were not sinking in the ocean of samsara. You were in fact sinking in the notion of samsara. That knowledge which reduces the ocean to a mere set of notions is the knowledge of you as free, is the knowledge of Shreyas, is the knowledge which comes to you when the doing is disbanded and the being is inhabited. Less doing, more being. This is the fruit of Shreyas. Whereas prayers keeps the seeker intact, so you can keep on seeking this, that, or the other. Shreyas shakes up the seeker. The notion that I am a seeker is an erroneous notion. Shakes that up, shakes up the ahankara, and just like when you harvest potatoes from the ground, along with the potatoes come clods of earth. And so you have to beat that bunch of potatoes to loosen the dirt. Similarly, the knowledge of Shreyas dislodges the dirt of various notions. I am as good as this body. I am a seeker. I'll never be happy. I am a father. I am a mother. I am this. I am that. Everything it just questions, disbands. And then one understands when all the wrong notions are dislodged, the eye which is self shining shines. This is why one has to choose Shreyas. And then the verse says both of them bind the human being. We know very clearly how prayers binds the human being, because the human being is enticed into pursuing what is front and center, what is easily available to the organs of action, to the means of knowledge, eyes, ears, etc. So one just pursues what is at in front, what is at hand. And then what? Then one sits and cries. This is what is prayers. And so they, of course, one is bound by pursuits of prayers. Prayers binds because prayers has, prayers is addictive. Prayers is like glue, or in modern parlance, gluten. Okay, yeah, because now everybody is into gluten free. Yeah. Shreyas is gluten free. Preyas is full of all kinds of icky, sticky, binding things it binds. But here Lord Yama says, Shreyas also binds. How does Shreyas bind? Because Shreyas repatriates you to the truth of yourself. And there being only two choices, one is bound to pursue Shreyas, and if one drops the Shreyas pursuits, one is naturally bound to pursue Shreyas. If one drops Preyas, this is what the whole thing is. And then Lord Yama doesn't mince words. Tayoho, out of these two which I have thus far described, he says, Shreyaha adadanasya purushasya sadhu bhavati. Sadhu bhavati doesn't mean becomes a sadhu, okay? Here, the word sadhu is indeclinable. Sadhu means good. So, for the person, tayoho shreyah adadanasya, for the person who has chosen Shreyas, who chooses Shreyas, tasya, for that person, sadhu bhavati, only good outcomes are at hand. So, right, front, and center, the choice is clear. If you want your life to have a meaningful end, then straight away choose Shreyas. If you want to keep going round and round the sorry go round, then of course you will choose prayers. Because you feel secure, but you're trapped. Yeah, but there is also some security. You don't have to pursue security. Security is your middle name. You are already secure. It's something that has to be discovered cognitively through the pursuit of this Upanishad, through the pursuit of any Upanishad, in other words, through the pursuit of self knowledge, here called as Shreyas. And so the one who chooses Shreyas, that they come to a good end. A good end means Shubham, auspicious, Mangalam, again auspicious. You know, in the olden days, when you went to see a movie, a Bollywood movie, at the end they would always put the word Shubham or Mangalam. Even now, in some vernacular languages movies, Shubham. Shubham means, you know, everything is auspicious. All's well that ends well. You know, this is a Shakespearean way of saying Shubham. All's well that ends well. In yoga ashram, we have to change that. All's well that bends well, we have to say. Because when the various body parts bend, that is the sign of wellness. Anyhow, so this is Shubham, Mangalam. All's well that ends well. The end should be correct. And if the end is auspicious, then everything, the whole story becomes auspicious. This is how we have to see. And so the pursuit of prayers is amangalam, ashubham, opposite of auspicious, inauspicious, bad news, bad luck. Why? Because there is no end really. If you pursue prayers, you are pursuing, chasing, exhausted, then you stop for a little bit, attend one Vedanta class because you couldn't do anything else, or accidentally you happen to fall upon the Vedanta class, and then you go back to prayers pursuit, and you are permanently tired, permanently exhausted, permanently seeking. In fact, you become an infinite seeker, which is not a very nice thing. If you seek the infinite, you are safe, you are happy. Seeking the infinite, you are free. But being an infinite seeker, you are neither happy nor free. Therefore, what is Shreyas? To be the seeker of the infinite is better than being an infinite seeker. Being an infinite seeker is an inauspicious way to be because you are wedded to the finite, but at the same time you want the infinite. Here is the contradiction. Therefore, what happens? You become the seeker of the infinite. You rebrand yourself as the seeker of the infinite. If you are the seeker of the infinite, the quest is finite. And therefore, when the quest drops, then you can say Shubham Mangalam. I was born for this. And what is this? The human life is for the pursuit of moksha. It is a rare happening Even though you say, oh, the population is exploding in the world, it is still rare to be the human being. A human birth is for the pursuit of the I. And if it is directed and channeled for other pursuits, then what happens, Then that person has wasted the life, wasted the God given life of a human being. If you don't understand that you are the truth, you are free of sorrow and you are free of despair. In other words, if you don't pursue Shreyas, your life is wasted. Therefore, if you pursue Shreyas, the life is very easy. It is fulfilled. In another Upanishad called the Big Forest Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there there is a dialogue between two sages, Gargi and Yagyavalkya. Gargi, she was a very evolved sage and a jnani, a knower of self-knowledge, and she was asked by the king, Janaka, to choose some people that would sit, some exalted sages that would sit in a very august assembly in order to do introspection on various advanced philosophical topics. So she was actually screening the people. Along came Yagyavalkya, in whom she met her match, and what did she asks him a question. Who, O Yagyavalkya, who is a Kripana? Kripana means who is a miserly person. And then, of course, one would think the answer would be the one who doesn't help his or her fellow beings, the one who doesn't give for charity, the one who is unforgiving, etc. So many answers come to the mind. But they were all wrong answers. Yagyavalkya gives the correct answer. He says, Asmat lokat yaha atmanam aviditva praiti bho gargi saha kripanaha. O Gargi, O revered Gargi, the one who departs from this earth not knowing the self, not pursuing Shreyas, is the one who is the most miserly person. What is the connection? One is very intrigued here. What is the connection between not knowing the Atma, not studying about the I, not being a student of the Upanishad, and then departing the world without knowing the I, and miserliness? One thinks, what is this connection? What is this very strange connection? And then it becomes very clear, because the one who is a miser, according to Yagyavalkya, is the one who hoards and doesn't use up things. Here, what is the miser? The miser is hoarding the brain cells, the buddhi. The buddhi is a gift of Bhagavan in order to pursue Shreyas and know the truth of yourself. But here the person is hoarding the buddhi. Not a single brain cell has been expended to attend a satsang, to understand the truth of the self, to attend a yoga class, pranayama, anything to prepare for this knowledge. Even to sit and sing a bhajan and get lost and become one in the fervor of devotion. The one who hasn't done anything like this is the most miserly person, because the God-given gift of the buddhi has been hoarded as though it were made of gold, and it'll get spoiled if or somebody will steal it away. This is the miser, according to Yagyavalkya. So then, sadhu bhavati means the life is fulfilled. Life is fulfilled when you understand that you are the most fulfilled being. When you understand that you are a being of fulfillment, the whole life is fulfilled. And the purpose of your life is no longer there. So when the body departs, you don't have to come back. because you are equipped with this knowledge. One jiva, the Lord can cross off. They don't have to reckon with you. And Lord Yama is very happy whenever somebody gets moksha. You know why? Because Lord Yama is the clearing house of all the jivas. It's almost like all the jivas after they die, they go on this some kind of a conveyor belts are going rebirth here, next life animal, and next life dog, next life cat. And then this jiva, oh, already knows the truth of the self. Oh, I don't have to deal with this jiva. No need to put on the conveyor belt. One less, you are easing Lord Yama's job. So very approvingly he says, the one who chooses Shreyas, the great good comes for that person. But then the Upanishad has another way of talking about the whole thing. The Upanishad says, you know what? What if I don't choose Shreyas? What will happen? Because this is a human thinking. Human beings always want the forbidden fruit. Human beings always are curious. What is behind door number 3? Whatever it is, some closed door. What is behind that door? Other doors are open. No, no, no. I want to know what is behind that door. But we've already told you the best choice to make. Yeah, but what if I make the wrong choice? Fir kya hoga? What will happen? Okay, listen. The Upanishad even feeds that curiosity. Hiyate arthat. Hiyate means slips away, gets derailed from the truth of oneself. Yahu, indeed the one who chooses prayas. Preyo vrinite, vrinite chooses. Indeed, the one who chooses prayas has a চ্যুতি, derailment. Hiyate means gets completely disconnected from oneself. Really, that is what the whole thing is. Because Shreyas is the truth of the self, and if you don't pursue Shreyas, you are by default pursuing Preyas. And then if you are pursuing Preyas, which is the non-self, Anatma, no wonder one is disconnected, alienated from oneself. One has a robotic way of being. Somehow you get up alienated, go to sleep alienated, get up alienated, go about one's day alienated. No connection. That's why one doesn't even remember, did I have breakfast or not? Well, I kind of feel full, so maybe I have had breakfast. One concludes. There is no mindfulness. And even though the word mindfulness is something that is enhanced by and talked at length by our Buddhist friends, this is something that was that this is the kernel of the Hindu tradition. Mindfulness. Being in the present. Being in the present means being one with everything. Seeing everything as an extension first of the Lord. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. I understand that everything that is here, known and unknown, is pervaded by the Lord. Pervaded by the Lord. And if everything is pervaded by the Lord, that everything includes this body, includes the mind, includes the senses. You cannot leave yourself out. Includes the body mind sense complex, correct? And then includes everything you like. Of course, that's very easy to see it as Bhagavan. What I love is Bhagavan. Chocolate cake, of course it is Bhagavan. Definitely Bhagavan, no problem. And then, but you have to include also the outlaw. You have to see the outlaw as Bhagavan, in-law as Bhagavan, and everything in between the outlaw and in-law is also Bhagavan. That's why the Sri Rudram, a very holy prayer which is used for Abhisheka in the tradition, sees this whole universe as a manifestation of the Lord. This is the first step to pursuing Shreyas, is to see that you don't control the shots. You are not the actor. No, but I act all the time. Yes, but you are not in charge of producing the results of the action. The famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita says. And then, of course, you look around and find out who is the one in charge of the results of action. The answer is Bhagavan. In fact, any question I ask now, the answer is Bhagavan. Who made this world? Bhagavan. Who gave me this body? Bhagavan. Who gave me this parentage? Bhagavan. And why do my primary caregivers behaved? Why did they behave like primary caregivers? Bhagavan. Everything is Bhagavan. You have to Ishwarize the universe. This is really a very important step in the pursuit of Shreyas. To step back from being the agent of action and being thinking that one is the producer of the result of action, one steps back and observes that actually one is so dispensable. One thinks, oh, if I'm not here, the family will not run. I heard this, one time the one lady came to me and said, my father is sick, I have to go to India. She was in the States. And I said, please go, take care of him. And she said, yeah, but I have two teenage children and husband, and they will not be able to manage because they don't even know how to boil water and they don't know what to do, and they will all be bereft without me. The house will not run. I said, it'll be okay. Just go, don't worry. Leave everything on Bhagavan. She said, hello, Bhagavan is not going to make the meals. And anyhow, she left, but then I was surprised because the husband and the teenage children also wanted an audience with me. And then I said, okay, I will see you now. And they said, please make her go. We need a break. She's a helicopter wife. She's a helicopter mommy. And helicopter means very close, micromanages everything and makes an annoying noise in the process. She's a helicopter parent. And we'll be fine. In fact, if anybody needs micromanagement, it is her situation in her hometown in India because the father is very sick. He needs to, she needs to give him his medicines. There she will be excel. Here, she is not needed. And I smiled. I said, well, she says you don't know how to cook. And the teenage children said, yes, we don't know how to cook, but we know how to order from outside. So we are going to be fine. We have the pizza number on speed dial. We know how to do this. And if we are sick of that, we will learn how to make something. All the recipes are online. Please make her go. Bless her to go. So you see, this is how we think we are indispensable. Everything runs. Everything just because you are not the one who is making things run. And so this knowledge itself takes us one step closer to Shreyas. This understanding itself, that we'll speak more about in the next satsang also, but this understanding itself gives a relief. OMG, thank God I'm not in charge of this. Thank God somebody else is in charge. And this all the people in India know very well. And that's why, we see the whole world as prasada. Prasada is again an untranslatable word. Unless you want to say it with an American accent, prasada. If you want to say that, you are welcome, but it doesn't have a translation. At the most, we can say something that is coming from Bhagavan, accepted with a gladness, a glad acceptance of the fruit of action, prasada. That's why everything is prasada. What you want and you got prasada, yippee. What you didn't want but you still got prasada, but nonetheless prasada. And in fact, in India, people name their children also as prasada. Ram Prasad, Durga Prasad, Vishnu Prasad. This is what it is. And it's a very nice, wonderful, healthy start to this very dicey role of parenting. You see the child as Bhagavan's problem, Bhagavan's gift. In fact, there is one, what is that? There is one nefarious politician in India, and his name is Lalu Prasad. Lalu means baby Krishna. Okay, yeah, more out of jail, more in jail than out of jail. Keeps on going to jail regularly, and then for some scam or the other. In fact, I say his mother was a very wise woman. The Mataji looked at the baby and said, "Not my problem, Lord Krishna's problem." It's a very healthy way to parent. You don't internalize things that you're just a managing trustee of your child, of what of your child, of your own body mind complex. You do the best and you leave the rest to Bhagavan. This is what is making one come one step closer to pursuing Shreyas, where the the person steps back and sees everything that one has to do as a role, nay, as an instrument of the Lord. You are not the doer, you are the instrument. And this is what Lord Krishna tells Arjuna in the 11th chapter in the middle of the battlefield. Lest Arjuna have the feeling that, I am a great warrior, I'm the commander in chief, I'm a Senapati, commander in chief, and I am ambidextrous. Arjuna was. He could shoot unerringly with his left hand and with his right hand equally well. He could have two bows and arrows, something like an unfortunate example, but something like an assault weapon in the modern times. He could have two arrows, shooting off arrows unerringly in different directions. And he could put a whole quiver of arrows and shoot them all at once. He had that blessing. But again, he should see this as a blessing. Therefore, Lord Krishna says to him, Nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. Oh, you ambidextrous fellow, lest you start thinking that you are engineering this battle and you are at the helm of this battlefield. No, just be a nimitta. You be an instrument for that which is already done. Things are already done. Everything is given. Your birthplace given. Your parentage given. That you were neglected in childhood given. Everybody is neglected in childhood or feels so. Given. And the ability to feel bad given. That bad feeling, again, a universal law. It is the manifestation of Bhagavan in the form of the field of study called psychology. Given this background, the child growing up will have such and such issues. It's a law. And if it's a law, you are not alone. There is no alienation, there is no loneliness, there is no feeling of disconnection. You're not alone at all, you're one with everything. And you learn to accept that pain, accept the sorrow of the birth and the childhood and all the unresolved issues given. The ability to accept it is given. The ability to resolve that using your free will given. The ability to override that given. The ability to choose Shreyas over Preyas given. Everything is given. And the giver, the nature of you and the nature of that we call the giver are one and the same. And if this is not understood, if this is not pursued, the first verse that deals with the question of Shreyas and Preyas says, Hiyate arthat, one slips away from the truth of the self, one leads an alienated and a sad life. A sad life means what, Kind of a life which has no meaning, which is very easy to slip into, and the whole life is led in terms of violent metaphors. Always one is in a hurry, pursuing, pursuing, pursuing. One is in fact wedded to Shreyas. As soon as you get up, oh my God, what day is it? Oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. So you ask somebody, they will talk like this: I threw off the covers. And then what did you do? I jumped into the shower. Why did you have to jump into the shower? Why not walk leisurely into the shower? No, I jumped into the shower. And then what did you do? I grabbed a bite to eat. Ayyo. And then what? I I hit the road. See, so many violent metaphors. Always in a hurry. And then what did you do? I cranked out some emails at the office. Or I was working from home because of the pandemic. I cranked out some emails and then became cranky. That's what happens. Then on the way to the office, I hit the road. On the way back, I beat the traffic. And then what? I threw something together. Nobody cooks. I threw something together. And then what? I crashed. This is the sum total of the day. And it keeps repeating itself. This is what happens if you don't choose Shreyas. If you choose Shreyas, everything is prayerful. You wake up with a prayer. You wake up with giving thanks for this body, mind, sense complex. You don't jump into the shower. The showering is like abhisheka to all the deities in the ashram. And then you dress up again with a view to honoring the indwelling Bhagavan within. You go to work also with as a sign of work is worship. And you don't eat, you don't grab a bite to eat. It is an inner homa, an inner yajna to the digestive fire, which is a manifestation of Bhagavan. And cooking is an act of worship, eating is an act of worship, everything is an act of worship. The person in prayers also may use prayer once in a while to get what they want. But the person of Shreyas, they from leading a life where prayer makes an appearance, they they transform themselves into leading a prayerful life where every action and every result of action is approached with an attitude of prayerfulness. More we'll see next time. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ Thank you.
We would like to thank very much Swamini Svatma Vidyananda. Let's give her a big hand.